There are no more new ideas. Thank you, good night. So every time a baby is born in Amsterdam, a new tech startup is created. That's 148,000 times per month around the world a new technology startup is created, right? Just this summer we had a dozen companies created to rent scooters. We have hundreds of companies replicating the success of Uber. We certainly have seen 1,000 young startups that are happy to send you stuff in a box for a subscription. But if there's all of these ideas out there, right? What are we supposed to do? It's kind of like Shakespeare said 400 years ago, right? Thus conscience doth make cowards of us all. When 147,999 other people are working on a problem at exactly the same time, trying to solve this, what are you supposed to do? Right? I mean, you might as well pull that blanket up a little bit tighter and go back to bed. If all the good ideas are taken, how exactly are we supposed to level up? So I think maybe the Bard has something to teach us about this. Right now, somewhere in the world, Act 2 of Hamlet has just begun. In fact, if you look around the world, there are 50 productions of Hamlet happening at exactly this moment. And, I mean, they're all the same, right? The words are the same. The story ends exactly the same. Right? Spoiler alert, damn near everyone dies. I mean, technically speaking, those two are already dead. And yet, every one of those productions is different and new and brings some kind of innovation to the story, right? The words are all the same, but there's always something new or strange or maybe outside the conventional thinking. And there's the rub. So I've been lucky in my career to start a bunch of different companies. I've sold a few, I've shut some down. I think I started my first one when I was 22 years old, outside of the lemonade stand stuff that we all do. But at 22, I started my first company. And then most of my companies since then have been in the world of email and messaging. It was 1971 that Ron Tomlinson sent the very first email, the year I was born, thank you very much. He sent the very first email. And so that's some pretty old technology, right? By internet years, it's practically prehistoric. But it's not really where the story begins. Yikes. You see, my first career, I was actually an actor. I went to drama school as a young man. I got to act and teach and direct all over the world, and I did a ton of Shakespeare. And when you've got the chance to speak the greatest words ever written in the English language, you tend to lose sleep. Because every Hamlet is compared to every Hamlet that's come before. So how do all these guys do it? How do you invent something new when the script is 400 years old? The best versions have already been done. And frankly, there is nothing new to say about the topic. Oh, and 50 other people are trying to do exactly the same thing at exactly the same time. There is only one answer. Booze. No, not really. Maybe. No. So here's the thing. In the world of the theater, they've got it figured out, man, right? They've figured out that there are 3 simple things that you can do to find a way to level up that story even when every one of us knows how it's going to end. It's this little secret trick that I've used as an entrepreneur over the last 25 years to find interesting ideas to go play around in. As an actor turned entrepreneur, I've been able to use these 3 simple little things at the origin of every great role and every great idea. And if you can embrace these 3 little things, you can become an unstoppable innovation machine, I promise. Number 1, default to yes. Right? We've probably heard that before. Yes gives us a new opportunity. Yes opens the door, right? No stops the action. It forces a restart. Yes is how we embrace happenstance. It's this beautiful, small, tiny little magical word that gives us access to a new potential future. As a startup founder, everything I've ever started began with a simple, sometimes brave, yes. Next, well, we're all defaulting to yes. There are all these people who are telling you no, right? Beating you down, saying that's ridiculous. This happens all the time. No is easy, right? And so as we are plugging away with our default to yes, go ahead and be fearless. Lean into it, right? No are the guardrails on your path to success. When I was an actor, I figured I had to audition 40 times for every single role that I ever got. Think about that. That's 39 times somebody told me I sucked before one person said, give that kid a chance. As an entrepreneur, you may go try to raise money from a venture capitalist, and you may tell your story 100 times to investors before you actually figure out what your business is, or you find that one true believer. What was that Steve Jobs quote about this? The people who are crazy enough to change the world are the ones who will? Maybe. Lastly, there's a way to make a connection between your story and the problem you're trying to solve. What do you know that nobody else does? What's that strange little piece of your background that can influence the problem that you're trying to solve? Right? Maybe you grew up as a lobster farmer in Maine. How does that help the problem that you're trying to solve right now? Where's the 1 + 1 = 9? Right? How do you smash this stuff together? It's the fusion, fission, flibberty-gibbet of innovation, right? How do you get that together? Every great idea is really 2 things smashed together. Chocolate and peanut butter. It's awesome. Mobile phone GPS and black cabs. I met a guy who had a business. It was checkerboards and crackers. Awesome. Right? Think about that. Checkerboards, crackers. His tagline was "Beat 'em, then eat 'em." It's pretty good. Beat 'em, then eat 'em. It's funny, right? Yeah. All right. So the play's the thing. This has really been the key for me, that Super Mario mushroom that's helped me level up as an entrepreneur. And I'll share a quick little story about how it all plays out. Back in 2010, I'm sitting in my office just hanging out, and I get a phone call from this guy. He says he's a domainer, and he wants to go talk about startups. I'm thinking, domainer? What the heck is a domainer? Some kind of creepy internet domain squatter, stalker, mafia guy, right? But I said, yeah, sure, why not? So we go meet at a Starbucks, right? I'm sitting in the window, and I'm waiting for this guy to show up. I'm in beautiful Boulder, Colorado, and this guy pulls up in a Maserati in 2010, right? Crazy. And he starts telling me about his business. This guy owns 50,000 domain names. And it's all this stuff like worldsbesttoaster.com, top 10 toothbrushes of the world.com. And he makes all of his money. People go out searching for a toothbrush. They end up on his site. It's full of ads. They click something. He makes a buck. Clearly, he was making a lot of bucks. this was working out well for him. Now remember, I'm an email guy, a messaging guy, right? So after about 30 minutes, I'm like, what happens when somebody sends an email to one of these 50,000 park domains of yours? I swear this is true. The guy, he leans across the table, looks me dead in the eye, and he says, "No, that will never happen." All right. I just met you, dude, right? So it kind of stuck with me. I get home later that afternoon, and I called a friend of mine who's a brand manager for a big consumer product company, and I said, "Hey, man, how many domains do you own?" So, I don't know, 3, maybe 4,000. Oh. And I asked him the same question. So what happens when somebody sends an email to one of these 3,000 or 4,000 domains that you have? What do you think he says? "Scott, you're crazy. Nobody would ever do that. It's insane." So I roll it around a little bit. I wrote a little bit of software. I called these guys back 2 weeks later. I said, "Hey, take 6 domains each, point the email at this little application I wrote, and just humor me. Let's see what happens," right? I turn it on, and that day we start getting 200,000 email bounces every single day. 200,000 from 12 domains. And that is when I start putting the pieces together. Email is 47 years old. But you know when you send an email to somebody and there's nobody there, right? You mistyped it. Mailbox is full. You get that crazy bounce message back. They are awful, horrible for normal human beings. But we all open it up. Everybody reads that, right? Oh, message bounced. What do I do? And so we had 2 big questions. What would happen if we put a small advertisement in that bounce? And what could we do with all that data? By the time I exited the company, 10% of all internet domains that had been registered pointed their email at this little piece of software we wrote, and we were able to turn 16 billion email bounces every single month into newfound money. All happenstance. The actor, the entrepreneur, the business owner, the leader, the innovator, the student. We're all struggling with exactly the same problem. And while the medium is different, the act of creation is actually the same. The lock is opened with the same set of keys. Now, I'm not the first to come up with this, right? There's lots. This has been happening for a long time. If we think about it, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth were invented by Hedy Lamarr 70-some years ago this very week. Hedy Lamarr. Cardiac pulse monitoring was invented by Zeppo Marx. Even Marlon Brando invented some crazy way to tune a bongo drum. And so my story to you today is that there is more opportunity out there if you just kind of tweak the way you look at the world. Because it's absolutely true. There are no more new ideas. Except for yours. The key to leveling up as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a leader, as a student, the way to become that unstoppable innovation machine is really simple. Default to yes. Embrace the happenstance. Be fearless. Don't worry about the no's. The no's are the guardrails on your path to success. And make a connection between your story and this problem you're trying to solve. Find that place to smash things together, right? The fusion, fission, flibberty-gibbet of innovation. My ask of you today is that the next time you're struggling to find that next great idea, you feel constrained at the office, in the problem space where you're locked in and don't know where to go. The next time you feel pursued by the bear, stop. Say yes. Maybe ask them out for coffee. Thank you.